This business is like the Wild West. Gold, silver, rare coins, lost treasures of history. You never know what's gonna walk through that door. Okay, so you got 130 bucks here. Watch this. I'm Evan Kale, and this is Pawn Man.
All right, let's see what we have here. It's like a gold ring.
Is it a family ring?
Oh, yeah. It popped up in some of my people's belongings from I don't know when. I don't remember that ring.
Did you have a price in mind on it?
Not really, no.
It'd probably be at 315 bucks.
Kind of had a bigger price on it, didn't it?
What were you thinking?
I was thinking about like 6, really.
Well, that's way more than it's worth.
Really?
Yeah, I buy on gold value just to scrap. Older pieces I don't like to scrap, so that's 122 years old. I don't want to, but yeah, the stuff that comes in here is just stuff to me. So I put it on the scale, I look at the value I get. I don't get full worth on when I sell it to somebody to melt it down. I said 315.
Said she was gonna be fair now.
Okay, I'll come up to 360. Okay, yeah, that's me being fair.
Okay.
Guy down the street gave you 3. All right, so here's 360. Let me see what else you got. Oh, that's cool.
So this is 18 karat white gold with some diamonds. So about 0.15. You pay a little extra.
Diamonds are a big scam. Big scam. One of the biggest scams in history. They're not that valuable. They're pretty common, but the public has been sold on them being valuable, and now there's an industry, and it's not, you can't put the genie back in the bottle with what De Beers did. So this one here is 0.1 carat, or 0.15 carats. It'd be like an extra like 10, 15 bucks. And then you might say, oh, there's other little ones around it too. Well, diamonds aren't like water. You can't just pour them together. To refine all these into one bigger diamond, it just wouldn't be economically feasible. It'd be expensive. So I'm gonna check out the gold and go from there. Yeah, I think it's gold filled. Paula gold filled, yeah. So it's just a trace amount of gold on it. So something like this, yeah, I get you 15 bucks on it. The diamonds aren't real either. So if you're wearing it, keep it. Most 18 karat stuff I see that's white gold is either fake or it's filled. For men's anyway.
Do they do that on purpose or?
Yeah, it's a scam. Because they'll charge $200 and tell you there's white gold on it in a store, and it costs them nothing. Had I bought that from you for 15, I'd throw it on eBay, I'd probably get 40 or 50 bucks on it.
Oh yeah, okay. All right.
But more stuff, bring it back. I'm here every day but Sunday. You can grab one of my cards over there. All right, going over what just happened there. Well, obviously you guys heard it. He thought his ring was one thing and it was another thing, which happens all the time on this show, as you all know. So that ring that he sold me was 11.8 grams times 0.585 times 63. That ring melts at about 438 bucks. I'm gonna get 90% of melt or so. I will make about $35 on what I just did. Because a profit is a profit. It's tattooed on the inside of my ass. I wonder what would happen if you went to a tattoo artist and I don't know. I'm not gonna find out. I just sold this. It's Hitler's 50th birthday medal. Let's talk a little bit about it before I ship it out, because historically, this is a pretty important item. A lot of you guys may not know this, but the Third Reich didn't just worship Hitler. He was like their god. He is, to them, what Kim Jong-un is to the North Korean people. Mein Kampf, Hitler's book, was more important to the Nazis than the Bible. You had to swear allegiance on it. The Third Reich wanted to completely wipe out the Christian church, the Catholic Church, and they wanted to replace every single Bible with a copy of Mein Kampf. And in churches, that's what they were doing. So for Hitler's 50th birthday, they really made a big show of this. This was a big military show to project Germany's military strength, because although Germany was getting ready to fight a war, they still didn't quite want to. At least a lot of the generals were very nervous about it because they didn't know if they could win. In 1938, they sure couldn't win. It was a bluff, them taking Czechoslovakia. They are lucky that the world didn't stand up to them then, because the World War II wouldn't have gone on nearly as long if they would have been addressed in 1938. So this event, the 50th birthday was a huge show organized by propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels. Massive parade, 50,000 troops marching, hundreds of thousands of spectators, 20,000 guests invited, 163 Luftwaffe planes flew overhead. They issued a special edition of Mein Kampf just for his birthday. Hitler's secretary Martin Bormann built him the infamous Eagle's Nest, but Hitler actually didn't really like it because he didn't like high altitude because he was on so many pills and just he was afraid of heights, I guess. A brewery in Germany also issued Hitler a special low alcohol beer because he couldn't really drink because, again, he had indigestion and he was on so many fucking drugs and pills and was injecting himself with so many bizarre things like sort of like animal hormones, stuff like that. So he couldn't really drink, but this special brewery made him this beer that I guess it became like a Reich favorite. The Free City of Danzig also made Hitler an honorary citizen for his birthday. On April 18th, 1939, which actually today as I'm filming this is April 18th, the Third Reich declared Hitler's birthday a national holiday. So this medal here, I paid $6.50 on it and I sold it, I got $8.25 on it. So I'm not making a ton of money, but this is something, if I had more money and time, I would send this in for grading because, well, let's take a look at it up close.
So taking a look under a loop here, some minor scratches. We can see one right down there by the 1939. Some rim wear up here, particularly right there. But overall, really good details on the face, the ear, the hair, the eyes, the lines in the face, the lines in the creepy mustache. And then on the reverse, again, really good detail. See, there's like a nick right there next to the swastika to the right. There's like a little bit of a mark here on the side, but all the lettering is very crisp and clear. It is not dirty. It seems like it's got some natural, some like very mild toning just from its age. I suspect this was in a drawer without any kind of light for a long time. And then the crest here also looks really good. You can see all the details. The lion looks really good. So the only thing that I really don't like about it, minus the fact that it's fucking Third Reich metal, there's some wear on that lion. It's hard to see, but it is not, like around the face, it is not great. Because like beneath it, I mean, these like vinyl things, whatever the fuck these are really good. But that lion is definitely missing some detail. I can't see the eye.
On the Sheldon grading scale, either it's AU, AU 55, best case scenario, specimen SP 60. 60 points at best, which puts it at the very, very, very bottom of the uncirculated mark. And it is only because of these rim marks. If it did not have these rim marks, I would score this a 63. Also, if you guys are getting really sick of this, just know this channel is not only going to be this Nazi shit like this, it's just I bought so much of it and I have so much money into this stuff that I may as well make all the content that I possibly can out of it and get my money's worth on it before shipping it out. So just know that like this channel is not going to be a Third Reich channel forever. As soon as I sell this stuff, I'm going to stop trafficking in it so heavily. Anyway, and I still need to find what my next thing is after this. Okay, so yeah, I just had to confer with an expert and because I don't want to make a mistake on this. It looks like it's good. Do you have a price in mind?
Yeah, what is it, what, like 50 some grams?
Yeah, 50 even.
50 even?
50 even, yeah.
What's, what do we got, 22 karat at? What's the market right now?
So I don't get, I smelt it down, I don't get full melt. 23.25.
What does that come up per gram then? You're saying 2,300?
23.25, so it's 46.50 per.
46.50
Per, yeah.
Because I see 22 karat gold is $57 a gram. And then 57 times 50 is, you know, over 2,500.
Right, so and I don't get full melt when I sell it off. I get about 90% when I sell it to someone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I thought it was like gold goes for gold, you know?
Yeah, I wish. No, because I mean, yeah, they got to make money too, the smelter.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
2,400. It's probably as high as I want to go on it.
Okay. Well, it's not my goal, but.
Sure, yeah.
You want to come back tomorrow?
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
a lot of money. It's a big decision.
I mean, I just don't want to sell it, you know?
Okay.
Thanks for taking a look.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see if they come back. I won't make a whole lot of money on that. I'll make, if I do that deal, I'll probably make $200 or $300 max, but we'll see. I kind of wish I'd filmed the whole deal. So that was 22 karat Arabian gold, but I see a lot of that stuff getting faked. And I had to file into it. I'm pretty sure it was good. The guy that I called who I would have ultimately sold it to if I did end up buying it, thought it was good too.
The next day.
Look who's back. The next day. Hello, welcome back. What do you think?
Oh, my mom's like, yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cash or check?
Cash be fine.
Okay, awesome. So I got these. I'm glad she came back, and yeah, cool. Hope she comes back with more.
Well, this is a lovely little find right here. I was going through all the mounds of shit that we have for sale that's unlisted in the back because there's so much shit. It's crazy. And we've got just a bin of watches, and I was digging through it, and I pulled this one. And I was like, oh, I think this is gold filled. I turned it over. Oh, it's 14 karat gold, and I tested it. So this is all 14 karat gold, probably about $300 or $400 worth of gold. And I don't think I paid anything for this watch, because if it was in my junky bin, that means I must have just thrown it in with a pile I bought. So it's a nice find today. I could use the money, but it works. It's 23 jewels. It's Bulova, probably from the 70s if I had to guess. I'll look online. Maybe this has a huge premium. The fact that it works is pretty cool. I couldn't find anything exactly like this watch, but I'm gonna put it up for $650 and see what happens.
I really, you guys, want to thank Iowa Coin Guy for sending me this book. This is a $300 book. It is very, very rare. It is all about, it's called Medallic Portraits of Adolf Hitler. It's all about the tokens and the medals that I've been building this collection. Like, this book is instrumental for my research, and finding it is like, I combed the internet, I fucking couldn't find it. And then Iowa Coin Guy, Matt, who I've done a ton of business with, you guys, great guy, go follow him. He has a lot of great coins for sale. He just said, hey, I'll send it to you. I have it. Free. I was like, I'll send you an ounce of silver. No, don't worry about it. What a mensch. Did I really say mensch? Oh, becoming a worse and worse Jew by the day. But I want to read something to you guys, this first passage. So actually I read this passage last night, and it took my breath away, and I bought the book because it's like, the passage is so on the nose, spot on, everything I'm trying to convey about this. When somebody goes jumping to conclusions of, oh, a pawn man's buying Nazi shit, what does that say about him? So let me read this. And let me preface by saying that World War II, as you all know, is my favorite time period in history. It is the most interesting time period in history because it is when history could have gone completely different. We'd be living in a completely different world. Alternate histories fascinate me. Man in the High Castle is a really interesting show. I was so drawn to that show because it was just so alluring to imagine how horrible the world would have been if Japan and Germany would have won. But let me read the preface here. Adolf Hitler is at once one of the best known and one of the most despised modern personalities. It is improbable that he will soon be forgotten. By the same token, however, he is probably one of the least understood phenomena of modern history. The emotional reaction to his deeds has clouded the impartial analysis of his history. As numismatists, it is our job to study that portion of the historical record which has survived in the form of coinage, currency, tokens, medallic art, and other mediums of exchange and exonumia. The science of numismatics contributes in its own way to our understanding of the history of man. We are not so bold as to view this catalog as a major contribution to a historical record, but we would hope that it is accepted as a small contribution to the study and enjoyment of numismatics. Were we to shun any area of study, no matter how insignificant, merely because of our negative reactions to it, we would be guilty of the same errors that contributed to the ultimate destruction of Adolf Hitler and the National Socialist state. Instead, we would hope that the objects represented within this work would be collected and studied for what they are, physical documents of a very real period in the history of mankind. So, for everybody getting their tits in a twister about me selling Nazi shit, that. And there you go. Stick it up your ass. Film it. I'll pay a nice shiny piece of silver for a bit of footage, I will. It's my favorite state-to-state thrifter with a box of boomer shit. And he doesn't have his gang of children today. The borderline shook me down last time. Your mini mafia isn't here today to shake me down. Yeah. Oh yeah. You never have gold.
Never say never.
How much do you want?
Like $220.
Okay, that's fair.
All right.
Battle of Normandy, 50th anniversary commemorative set. It's actually $50 on eBay. So 40?
45 is what I'd have to get.
You can't make money.
I'll let you keep it.
Okay.
I'm kind of like tight on cash.
Yep.
But it's a cool set.
All right, let me show you all what came in this deal. This was, my deals with him are usually under 1,000, so that was interesting. This whole pile was 20 bucks. Now within this pile, there's some crap. I bet I'll get 10 on that. I bet I'll get 10 on that. So there's my money back. This will go in a pile of boomer shit. These are clad. Okay, so this is all going in a boomer shit pile. This on its own, I can probably get about 10 bucks for. Yeah, so boomer shit pile, and these will sell on their own, so I'll double my money of the 20 here. These I gotta look up. Let's look them up right now for shits and giggles. There's that Battle Normandy one. He had 50, 60 bucks online, 50 after I'm done selling it. It was cool. It had sand from Normandy in it, but I wouldn't have made any money. Even at 45 would have been tough. 1985. Royal. Okay, look at that. So I paid 10 bucks for the pair of these, and then each one is going for $32.79, meaning I'll put them up for 30, and I bet I'll sell them within a day. This boy fucker set I will look into later. I bet, I give him 25, I bet I'll get 50 or 60. By my experience, I do well. It is a bummer this is missing a coin. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna just sell these together as one item. And actually, I know somebody who buys Vatican coins, so he might wanna buy these. I'll offer these for 50. And we'll go from there. This, I will probably be able to get about 90 bucks on. I paid 65, but it's a good Morgan with some decent toning. And then these guys, I will be able to get $270 each on. I know so because I just bought and sold a couple of these graded MS69. So I'm making 50 bucks each on these. So 1, 2, 50 profit here. And then these, paid 36 each. I'm gonna ask 50. I bet I'll be able to sell 4 of these quick. And then at this point, this is what's gonna sit, potentially this too. But this, I basically own for free. And then I've made money here. On this deal that cost me $1,652, I will probably make about 400 or 500 bucks. And what I love about that guy, he doesn't bring his gang of children in here because they honestly run around and cause chaos, and they do straight up. Sometimes we're doing deals, his kids will like stare at me and like try and shake me down and be like, Papa, get more money from that man. But he will sell me coin sets, sometimes like obscure coin sets from all over the world from like the 70s and the 80s, and I'll pay 10 bucks on them. Lord knows what he buys them for, but I get like 100 bucks on them. Like I've had numerous coins, you guys have seen them on the show before. I had a Bahamas set, or no, it was Bahamas or Coins of Australia? It was a Coins of Australia set from the 60s. I paid him 10 bucks and I got like 150 that night. So I love doing business with him. We do some great stuff. It's just, as you guys all know, I'm a little low on cash, and I don't want to be sitting on anything for long. So actually, it's the end of the day today, and I'm gonna be staying here late tonight because I need to raise more money. Boy, oh boy, the joys of being me.
All right, guys, for this episode, we are talking all about Confederate currency, something very collectible and very taboo. Just before the Civil War broke out, the Confederate States of America was officially formed. They formed their own Congress, the Confederate States of America's Congress, and they passed an act for currency on March 9th, 1861. So preemptively, they're saying that they're gonna be diverging and splitting from the Union, and they're taking economic steps to set up their own statehood, government. Now, these notes were slang term known as graybacks, the reason being largely, 1, to differentiate from the currency of the Union, and 2, because the Union had greenbacks, but 2, because of the Confederate uniforms. They were gray. So like the backs of the uniforms of the men who were fighting the war, they call these graybacks. Now, what's interesting about Confederate notes, they're promissory notes. They're not really currency. They weren't really backed by anything. They were backed by the promise that the Confederacy was going to win the war. They assumed that there was going to be a Confederacy after the war, and they assumed that they were going to win. So the notes that were issued were interest-based. There were 72 different notes across 7 different series. The denominations started large and got smaller. Now, the National Banknote Company, interestingly in New York, was the first company to issue the notes, and these are the most collectible of all the Confederacy notes, the ones that are coming out of the National Banknote Company in New York. They only printed $607,000 bills, $607 $500 bills, $1,606 $100 bills, $1,606 $50 bills, for a grand total of 4,426 total notes printed by this company. That's it. But this didn't last for long. This was like very, very, very early on in the war. After June of 1861, they transferred to some Southern companies to be continuing this process of issuing Confederate currency. Starting in June of 1861, a number of these different Southern companies took over. And all these companies, just listen to the names of them. The Southern Banknote Company, and others, such as Hoyer and Ludwig, Jules Man of Rear, B. Duncan, Keating and Ball, J.T. Patterson, and Archer and Halpin. Fucking, they all sound like law firms. So what's interesting, and collectors will note, with these notes as they're being produced, not terribly exciting. You get some really interesting notes coming out of the United States, especially, or out of the, well, I guess the United States, after the Civil War. Even looking back at like old American coins, like they're very good looking coins. You know, our first coinage in this country. These Confederate notes, they kind of blow. It features, you know, usually somebody prominent in the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis. Like I've seen, the old man had a $100 bill. It was a Confederate note, and it's Jefferson Davis and his wife, and they're not smiling. They both look so miserable and pissed. That is because people didn't generally smile for portraits, but even still, it really sells home the misery of the Confederacy in 1864. I think that's when the old man's note was from. Like, I mean, this one here, it features a building, and a face, and a 20, and it says 20, and it says 20 on the back. That's it. There's no real care or artistic thought done into the act of creating this bill. Nobody was attempting to make it beautiful or make a statement, you know, like German Notgeld. It's just kind of to get the job done. And the reason for this is the Confederacy did not have very many artistic people. They had a lack of skilled engravers and artists and people and resources to put into the development of this because they were a little bit busy fighting a war they weren't going to win, and a war they weren't going to win pretty early off the bat. It was apparent. They also had trouble with counterfeiting issues. We'll get to that in a moment, but because they had a cruder operation, the steps that the Union was taking, and I mean, again, more so after the fall of the Confederacy and post-Civil War, we see more anti-counterfeiting measures being put into currency. You see way more effort going into the Union's anti-counterfeiting measures than you do in the South. And part of the strategy of the Union, the war strategy, was economic war. They were creating counterfeit notes, and they were doing it to mess with the economy of the South. So like I said, when these notes were first issued, they were all issued to pay interest, but the interest got worse and worse as the war dragged on. The first series was 3.65% after a year, you know, per year. And it was payable 1 year after being issued. So you had to get the note and hold it for a year, but then you could redeem it. But then the second series, which introduced $5 and $10 bills, the interest dropped and the terms changed. Now you gotta wait 2 years to cash it in. And like I said, you're getting less interest. And it gets worse. The third series is where we start seeing the wording payable after the war, as in, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Here you go, here's some Monopoly money. In the fourth series, we start seeing more practical size notes, $1 and $2 bills. And then in the sixth series in 1863, we see 50-cent notes. And honestly, you guys, I have a 50-cent note. It doesn't have a back, which is interesting. They stopped printing backs on them as the war was progressing, basically because they're getting their asses kicked, and they really didn't have time to fantasize about this. It's kind of like, as the Third Reich was collapsing, Hitler would have Speer draw, like, you know, what Germany is gonna look like after the war, because he was an architect, and so he'd do these, like, grand drawings of, like, Munich after the war, and it was like, you know, just so Hitler could go, la, 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 la. We kind of start to see that being apparent just on the currency here. And then again, this is why I love this kind of stuff, why I love the history of currency and coins and collectibles and stuff like that, because it tells the story of what was happening. You can see just looking at their currency that they're losing, and they're losing bad. So backtracking a little bit, during the Confederacy, banks were allowed to issue their own notes, and this led to quite a lot of counterfeiting. Between the counterfeiting problem that erupts from banks being able to issue their own notes, to the Union's rat fuckery with fake notes, to just the fact that this is not something that is going to work out, and is pretty obvious, like I said, early on in the war. It's not to say the casualties were nothing, but keep in mind, you guys, if you're like, well, it seemed like it was a hard fight, it went back and forth all the way through. Well, there was a lot of casualties because if you got breathed on weird, they had to take off your arm. You know, there's a really funny Dan Cummins joke about whiskey, laudanum, saw. Like, that was their only concept of medicine, was like, oh, he's got a flesh wound. I guess we have to amputate at the neck and hope that the head survives. But between all these disastrous calamities taking place with the Confederacy, the value of this starts to be seen as, you know, nothing, because it is nothing. It's a promissory note that assumes that there's gonna be a Confederacy after the war. And by 1863, you can kind of see that you can't put this genie back in the bottle, but people are gonna be fucked. You've been paying people in monopoly money to fight a horrific war that you're losing. Hyperinflation exploded in the Confederacy, and there was an attempt to reevaluate the currency in 1864, but by that point, it's like, it wasn't gonna work. Nothing could stop it, nothing could fix it. It was very, very, very obvious that the Confederacy was going to fall. By the end of 1864, 1 Confederate dollar equals 3 Union cents. Christmas 1864 It costs 300 Confederate dollars to buy a ham. And the worst part is for the people using the currency, there's so many counterfeits that who knows what's what. Let's take a quick look at some examples of some famous counterfeits. Some of these were thought to have been produced in the North. I had trouble finding some origin stories. My personal favorite one is this female deer. It was never produced in the South. Today, these are highly collectible. I almost bought one for this episode so that I could simply hold it up and show you guys, but the show's really expensive, and those are about $400 or $500 a note. So there's another famous counterfeit thought to be produced in Havana. It's called the Women of the South, and this is a note that was printed, at least they think it was printed in Cuba. That's why they call it the Havana note. This caused a lot of problems. It got passed again and again and again. You guys realize every time a counterfeit $100 bill gets passed, that is so much rat fuckery into an economy. We just talked about North Korea in the last episode and the Super Benjamins that they pass here. That does all kinds of economic damage. So some of this stuff was printed by the Union. Other stuff, I mean, maybe it was just some rich person who had a printing press who saw an opportunity and took advantage of it. In any event, you guys know how the Civil War unfolded. Obviously, the South lost. I really think it is interesting to consider alternate scenarios, alternate histories. Imagine a world where the South didn't lose. This is a conversation I recently had with a friend at a bar. I don't think they would have stopped. I don't think that they would say, okay, well, you have that side of the sandbox, we have this side. You don't come over here, we don't come over there, let us go about our separate ways. No, I think that the Confederacy would have kept pushing, and we would just have the Confederate States of America as the United States of America, and yeah, it wouldn't be good. My God. As far as collectability of these notes goes today, they are very collectible. They're also, to this day, faked, and faked a lot. I have seen a lot of fake Confederate currency. One way to tell is by feeling the paper. Most of the fake notes that I have come across, they feel just like cardboard paper. And I have bought a few and made mistakes to learn how to identify what's a fake and what isn't. I really, when I'm buying them, I like buying them certified. You know, this one here comes from PCGS banknote. I know it's real. I checked the serial number. I bought this one online. I got two $20 bills here. We'll take a look at them in just a moment. But now I know what you're all thinking. Well, Pawn Man, we talked about the currency. Didn't the Confederates make coins? Not really. They didn't have time. They didn't see it as being practical because, again, they had bigger fish to fry and they couldn't fry those fish. That's why they couldn't even do these right. That's why a lot of them don't have backs. There is this thing that is known as the Lovett cent. There's only about 15 of them known. There is also a Confederate half dollar. They only mentioned 4 of them. I had a restrike, a copy restrike maybe about 2 months ago. I think I got $50 on the copy restrike, and like, you know, that's worthless. There were also a couple of Confederate dimes that were minted in France, and there was one that was struck in gold. They all had Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy, on them on the obverse. And there was one that was minted in gold and given to Jefferson Davis. Apparently that's like 40 grand now. I would think that's higher. That's what my researcher told me. But if anybody is ever trying to advertise to you that they have Confederate coins for sale, they're lying. There's only a handful of them known. They're ungodly expensive. And as for Confederate currency, let me put it this way. So I've done some research, you know, obviously for this episode between my researcher and just, you know, looking around, buying these, seeing what they go for. Don't get overexcited paying for it. If you walked in here with an uncertified Confederate $20 bill, you know, just a loose one, and I held it up and I determined that it was real, I paid, you know, 30, 40, 50 bucks. It really depends on the condition, because some of them can get really ratty. If you bring me a ratty one, I mean, we're talking 10 to 20, and maybe I'll get 30 to 40, maybe. These ones here, because they've been graded, what did I pay on this one? 80, 90 bucks into this one. I think I had 110 into this one. I already sold this one. And then I bought a fake one, also to just talk about. It's a fake banknote, and I paid, I think like 50 for it. I'm trying to get 70 on it. But these notes, they're not terribly expensive unless you get into the really high denomination or you get into something that is authentic and rare, like a Confederate half dollar. I have no idea what one of those would cost. I would think 6 figures, I really would, because you have a piece of history at that point. The New York banknotes, the first ones that were done, those ones are very expensive. I would not buy one of those unless it was certified, because again, the counterfeits are out there. I have seen them so many times. I've seen them enough times to know that when somebody puts a Confederate note in front of me, it's probably fake.
So these are the 3 that I bought. I have 2 $20 Confederate notes here. You guys can tell the paper quality, it's like not great. Like I said, not a terribly exciting note. It just says 20 on the side and just a building and a face and Confederate States of America. But, you know, nothing terribly interesting going on here. In the back, it just says 20. That's it. Here's the fake one. And looking at this fake one, I mean, I can tell that it's fake. I actually can. I'm getting good enough. The color is off, quality is off. We see this infringement here. This just looks sloppy. It looks like it was like somebody back in the day attempted to make this look like it had been passed a few times. The paper quality is sketchy. Because I mean, here we have a note that is being produced by a professional company, and we can compare the paper and quality. You get this like nasty greenish hue. I don't believe I've ever seen a greenish coloration like this on a note. An old one anyway. I mean, it just tells me that the paper aged differently than it did here. We don't see any attempts at anti-counterfeiting measures whatsoever. To be honest, I don't know if they had any or not when they were making these, but you would think that there would be some more care put into it. And so maybe for the real version of this, they would. But I see too many things that look like it's kind of just hand done shoddily. Looking at the back, there is no back. They thought, oh, fuck it, we're good enough on the front side. Forget the back side. And just holding this paper up, very thin and cheap versus we hold up the Confederate 20 here and you can see, I mean, there's so much more quality put into this. Putting the two up to the light, you guys see the difference? The quality. This is shitty paper up top. This is someone who knows what they're doing in a professional capacity down here. And one more interesting fact, I'm sure you guys are wondering, only 7 of the 72 different Confederate notes produced featured slaves. I would have thought it would have been higher. Just to conclude with that, you guys, if you see Confederate notes at a garage sale, pick it up, look at the paper, look at the quality, hold it up to the light. If it feels like it's been printed on cardboard, it's fake. Know that there are so many fakes out there. I would have a heck of a time buying one just because knowing what I know now. It would have to be certified and I would have to be able to type in the serial number here on PCGS's website and make sure that it's real, it's not bogus, because they do. I mean, they even fake these. When I was in New Orleans at the antique shop where I bought those Nazi daggers, they had some Confederate currency and I almost bought some, but it was grossly overpriced. And I'm glad I did my research when I did the week before, because I started doing research on this like a couple weeks ago when I started buying these. There was a $100 bill. It was in about this shape. It had no back and the guy wanted $250 for it. And it was like, oh, no way. That is way overpriced. So just do your research and be aware they are cool. They are interesting, they are historical, but they get counterfeited a lot and they are often overpriced. Do your research and be careful before you start buying these. All right, guys, just like that, it is the end of the day and the end of the episode. If you guys like this video, be sure you give it a thumbs up, hit the notification button so you guys know when new episodes of Pawn Man are coming out. Become a Pawn Man Patreon, you guys, please, please, please. I need all the help I can get. Spread the word about the show, get my books on Amazon, post your questions in the comment section below, and I will see you guys back here for another episode of Pawn Man. Later, guys.